हा हा हा.
So this is a तुलसीदास जी composition. तर जेव्हा मुलीला जेव्हा आम्ही we were trying to bring her up, अंबिका आमची मुलगी, I wanted the power and beauty of our beautiful ragas to be around. तर ही लोरी एक गारा रागामध्ये बसवली मी.
ओके.
मोहे पनघट पे नंदलाल छिर गयो रे मोर. हा गारा आहे. आणि तेच आन बान जिया में लागे आन. मास्टर कृष्णानी हे प्रचलित केलेलं आणि ते भास्कर बुवा बखलेंकडून आलेलं त्यांच्याकडे, यु नो दिस संगीताची ही जी देणगी. आणि हा जो राग गारा आहे, श्यामची आईमध्ये सुद्धा आहे.
Namaskar. In Swatantra Bharat 75 lecture series, expert lecture series, we started from 15 August 2021, and we are recently completed 100 lectures, as you know. So we are very privileged and honored to have today Shri Vithal ji Nadkarni sir with us, and he has been a polymath, multifaceted genius, one can say, and he has been the writer, editor, and also been vice chairman of Asiatic Society and a yoga expert and whatnot, music, everything is there.
I'm flattered.
So thank you so much, first of all, sir, for taking out time for us, and
My pleasure.
it's been great talking with you all the time. So let me ask some questions which are from my heart, and then you can add some more if required. Tell us something about your early childhood. You once mentioned that it started with you were staying in Mumbai, the heart of Mumbai. And especially the sanskaras which you got from your parents and the influence of your grandparents has been very important for you. Can you tell a little bit of that?
Of course, it will be my pleasure. Actually, I had the good fortune to be born in a family that not only loves books and literature and art, but it also had the rare privilege of spreading it to society in the form of books published at home. So my great grandfather was the pioneer of publishing of primers and arakhadis and books, dictionaries and such in Karnataka, in Udupi. It was a firm called V. Lakshman Rao and Sons, Wambatkere Lakshman Rao and Sons. And their books have gone all over the state, and they taught the basics of Kannada to. And in such a family, where learning, pedagogy, spread of knowledge, music, literature, Ashtavadhana as you call it. In such a family, I had the great good fortune to be born. And one of the things that I noticed was it was like a surround sound around me. If I spoke about Dhruvatara, I would know that there is a story of Dhruva and Vishnu. If you talked about Ambarish and Durvasa, there is a story. There is Harishchandra Taramati, there is Arjun and Bhim and Hanuman. And what was wonderful is some of our family members were also involved in setting up of the famous popular book depot, which later also started popular Prakashan. आणि if I may switch to Marathi, because that was my first language of instruction medium, and I read great Western classics, Bharat Bhagwat's translation of Don Quixote, in Gulliver's Travels and Invisible Man, along with Pandav Pratap, Shiva Puran, Tulsi Das Ji ka Ramcharitmanas. And it was all part of growing up, and you did not make a separation between fields at that time. So if you had Sri Ramachandra Kripalu Bhajamana Harana Bhava Bhaya Darunam Sri Ram. Now, this is Divya Pratibha. And a child especially is susceptible to this. And it is my later, I was initially, of course, there was this, I also came up against the language divide or the barrier. Because when initially this was all in the local languages, Hindi, Marathi, Sanskrit was also part of my upbringing. And, but then the language of power at that time came from English. आणि तिथे इंग्रजी वागणीचं दूध प्यायचं सुद्धा एक मोठं काम होतं, एक दिव्य होतं ते. So how does one learn? One learns again with the punya pratap of our culture, is what I discovered. Anta abhinav vakvilasini, de chaturyartha kala kamini, de Shri Sharda Vishwamohini Namili Maya. So I prayed as I've never prayed to Vishwamohini Sharda. I said, Mom, kuch nahi samajh mein aa raha English. Kaise? So I went to my grandfather. I said, I'm going to fail for the first time in my life. So my grandfather said, he gave me a rule. He says, all these years, what have you been equipping yourself with? With Panchayat, with Panchatantra, with Pandav Pratap of Sridhar Swami, with Sri Naneshwari and Mukund Raja and Eknathi Bharud and all that. हे का तुला दिलं गेलेलं आहे? हे पण ज्ञानार्जनच आहे. He said, speak in English, read in English, write in English, but above all, think in English. And thanks to the Akshara Brahma that this साठवलं होतं मी, I swear to you, in 6 months I was topping my class in English.
Wow.
कसं झालं, इमर्शन इफेक्ट मुळे झालं किंवा प्रारब्धामुळे झालं किंवा पूर्वासुरींच्या आशीर्वादामुळे झालं, पण इंग्रजी फाड बोलती महाराज.
I think took you in your beginning of career. You mentioned once to me that you were with Science Magazine in Washington.
Yes.
And you're meeting with CEO of New York Academy.
Yes.
I mean, this is the starting, you went to that Zoom, that went to that point, how it went actually.
We were working and we were so busy. First 10 years of my life, I didn't think of going abroad or anything. And I even met an astrologer who told me, Vithal ji, आपके भाग में संदेश भ्रमण नहीं है. आणि ते मराठी होते, आसामहून यायचे, केळकर. त्यांना मी म्हटलं, दुबईला पण जाणार नाही का मी?
म्हणाले नाही दुबई जाशील तू, पण तू जास्त घरकोंबडाच होणार आहेस म्हणून. तर देन मन में ठान लिया मैंने कि आय हॅव टू डू दिस, अँड प्रत्यक्षम and कर्तव्यम. And one of the breather vakyas that I had taken from my masters was this, Udyamena hi siddhyanti karyani nacha manorate nahi suptasya simhasya pravashanti mukhe mruga. Sleeping lions don't catch antelopes. So you have to work, and while you work, again you do it with a nishkama bhavana, because you don't get then performance anxiety also. And you don't get burnt out by wrong anticipation. So your energies are freed, as Warren Buffett famously said, that you don't waste your brain power in needless fantasy and imaginary fears or expectations, and you do what is necessary. Sir, hey Karun, I applied for a international fellowship which was being contested in 65 countries. And त्यावेळी people were thinking की अरे हा मराठवाडा मराठी मीडियम मधला मुलगा काय करेल. But I tell you, it is all accidental or coincidental or synchronicitous, I think. The first sentence of my essay I got in 1939, when my father left his native place in Karnataka to come to Mumbai for looking for work, his friends gave him a leopard skin as a going away present. आता हे कोणी लिहितं का? But when I wrote this, I believe the owner of Washington Post wanted to meet this individual who wrote it. आणि हे जे गोष्टी वेल्हाळ जे आपलं एक कल्चर आहे, कथा सरित सागर जिथे निर्माण झाला, जिथे ज्ञानाची जननी ही जी आहे, हे जे पंचतंत्र राजकारणासाठी निर्माण केलेलं, त्या पठडीमधून मी आल्यामुळे एक सीमलेस प्रवास झाला माझा, असं मला वाटतं. आणि तिथे मी जेव्हा सायन्स मॅगझिन मध्ये अमेरिकन असोसिएशन फॉर ऍडव्हान्समेंट ऑफ सायन्स मध्ये वगैरे गेलो, तर आय मेट एलिस रुबनस्टाईन, हु इज नाउ द सीईओ ऑफ द न्यूयॉर्क अकॅडमी ऑफ सायन्सेस. तर ही वॉज काइंड इनफ टू से देर इज वन, म्हणजे काय म्हणतात त्याला, आणि हु गिव्स मी थोडासा कॉम्प्लेक्स देतो, तो हा मराठी एज्युकेटेड विठ्ठल नाडकर्णी. आणि ही सेड इट विथ ऑल ग्रेट गुड ह्युमर. आणि त्यांच्या मॅगझिनच्या संस्कारातून जेव्हा मी परत मुंबईला येण्यासाठी ते वी हॅड ए सेमिनार वगैरे, काय तुम्हाला मिळालं, काय तुम्ही शिकलात वगैरे, तर त्याचं जे सार होतं, दॅट द एसेन्स ऑफ दॅट वॉज आय एम गोइंग बॅक टू इंडिया टॉलर, not because I came as a dwarf, but your great country made me aware of my true height. And this true height is what we should learn from our own roots, is my humble submission to the audience.
Great.
Now, I'm not saying this for the sake of, quote unquote obscurantism or some revisionism or some sort of backward looking romance with the past. This is something that has worked for me in life, in practical life. It has helped me.
And then I think started your career with actual journalism and Times of India. Is it that right?
Yes.
Right.
And that actually, the essay that I wrote enabled me to get the Alfred Friendly Press Fellowship.
Yeah.
Which was a great opportunity to see best practices all around. Worked with some of the leading newspapers and journals in the world, such as the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Oregonian, Science magazine, Nature, which is a premier science magazine from London, which New Scientist, that time being edited by Michael Kenward and others. So, eka drishtine, by one perspective, I was also with the Western science and technology,
correct,
and Eastern morality and spirituality. And this is something that unconsciously I have sort of mimicked or followed from the motto of the Meiji Restoration in Japan, which had a Brida Vakya or a mission statement saying that you should combine Eastern morality with Western science. Now, my experience with Eastern tradition was that it was also necessary to understand Eastern science. So if you take people like Kanada, Varaha Mihira, if you take people like Patanjali, if you take people like Bharata Muni, if you take masters like Goraksha Siddha, Vasugupta of Kashmir Shaism, Anandavardhana of the Dhwani theory, and great masters such as Kalidasa. The whole several lifetimes are not enough for this. But it was my good fortune that at a very impressionable age, बेमालूमपणे मला हे बाळकडू मिळालं. म्हणजे आईच्या स्तनपानातूनच असं म्हणतो मी जसं. इट वॉज ऑल अराउंड आणि माणिक्य वीणा उपलाळयंती अदालसा मंजुळ वाग्विलासा. This is the first line composed by Kalidas after the Anugraha of Kali on it. So when it gets transformed from a simpleton to a genius poet, first thing he says is Manikya Veena Upalalayanti Madalasa Manjula Vak Vilas. आता हे आणि पवन तनय जे मी म्हटलं संकट हरण मंगल मूर्ती रूप ह्याच्यामध्ये नाद न्यास सगळं आहे ह्याच्यामध्ये. And if you are fortunate, for instance, if you know about masters like Sharangdeva, Chaitanyam Sarvabhutanam Vivrittam Jagadatmake Nad Brahma Tadanandam Advitiyam Upasmaya. Nad, and even Akshar Brahma आहे, ज्ञानोबा माऊली सुद्धा आहे आपल्याकडे, तुकाराम महाराज आहे. So I was fortunate to be immersed and drowned in this cultural Mahasindhu.
But then now I'm getting curious now that how you are able to get time to read so many things and then memorize it and then try to connect those pieces together seamlessly. I mean, is it any उसका कुछ हमें भी कुछ जादू समझेगा, हमें भी कुछ
there is a thing, there is a technique of eidetic imagination, I would say. म्हणजे visually बघणं आणि हे ज्ञान आता काही आपण विचार जरी केले तर they are word images, which there is a peculiarity of my imagination. I never forget the sequence of events because it is recorded असं झालं, and all the attendant images along with it are also preserved. म्हणजे ज्याला आता in Marathi, for instance, one of my param daivats is Chakradhar Swami.
Yes, I was going to come to that.
Yes, आणि आता चक्रधर स्वामींना मी का एवढं त्यांच्या प्रेमात पडलोय. आणि 1988 I bought this book, Leela Charitra, which is edited by Professor Kolte. आणि V.V. कोलतेनी केलेलं पुस्तक आहे this one. आणि बघा इथे 15/11/1988 Tuesday I bought it. Lakshman Shastri Joshiji was the head of Maharashtra Rajya Sahitya Sanskriti Mandal. And this book, oh my God, it's what do I say to this? I am so fortunate to be born in this tradition. I had, in the beginning, the first sentence, you get me. You are effortlessly, Ye Margasi Kavana Adi. Now, did I say that correctly? Let us check. And there you are, the first Leela. I'm saying it just because I love the words. I mean, by that itself, I'm doing the Aarti of the Master. Shri Paresaya Namaha. This is how it. Sri Dattatreyo Margadi Moola Niropana. See the compactness of Sanskrit. Sri Dattatreyo Margadi Moola Niropana. He is the source of this tradition. महदाय से प्रश्न केला जी या मार्गाशी कवण आदि यावरी सर्वज्ञ म्हणितले भाई या मार्गाशी श्री दत्तात्रेय प्रभु आदि. अभी हमारी जबान बंद हो गई इधर. I go into a स्थिति and the master's grace is so seamless. From his Dattatreya Yoga Shastra, my mission statement I have got, Kriya Yuktasya Siddhi, Akriyet Katham Bhavet. If you don't plant, how will you reap? Forget about so shall you reap and sow and you will, reap. But if you don't do anything, Akriyet Katham Bhavet. So, contrary to the popular perception that Indic tradition is, world retiring from the world or spiritually inclined, or it is a dynamic, active, world-embracing tradition that I am fortunate to be inheritor of. And in this Akriyam, then Udyayena hi siddhyan. Karyani nacha manorathe. So, by imagination, of course, you may conceive it, but also karmanye vadikaraste. Again, ma phaleshu kadachan. And then suppose you are bhakti praveen or bhakti margala janare asa pravruttine. Mat chitta sarva durgani, mat prasadat vishyasi. Majavar soul to. And this is actually active psychology in action. So that you don't get performance anxiety which cripples your initiative and action. And it was my good fortune that I also studied in the best traditions of Western science first. ते आत्मसात करण्यासाठी लॅबोरेटरी जी असते किंवा प्रोफेसर्स असतात, it is easier to do it in an institutional setup, which I did first. And alongside, I was studying all these great texts, which my grandfather and my father and my mother were kind enough to show me. Like when I was working on a special issue in Science Today on yoga, I had to meet Professor Rupa in Delhi. He had done initial pioneering work on yoga and meditation. So I went to the AIMS library, All India Institute of, and I said, do you have any books on yoga? And the librarian so kindly gave me a small volume called Shiva Sutras. And I am telling you, I felt humbled that a person as relatively well read as me had never heard of the genius of Vasugupta Maharaj. And what power in Jnanam Bandham, Chaitanya Mahatma. One line you can write a PhD, exegesis on it. And I'm not saying it out of empty reverence. So every day became an adventure in discovering India and her awesome soft power, to use modern jargon.
Yeah.
And it is the soft power that enables not only surviving, but thriving of her children.
One thing I noticed just now also, and our other informal conversation also, you talk about Chakradhar Swami, then immediately you talk about Vasugupta, then you talk of Jnaneshwar Maharaj, then Samartha Ramdas. I mean, it's, and Datta Sampradaya. You also mentioned to me about Swami Samartha and that painting.
My father did this, yeah.
So how you get connected with all these great people in one you can say one para or one small answer, you somehow get connected to a lot of saints.
Yeah.
Do you see some connection between them?
Yes, there is a huge connection. and that huge connection is also, I think it is also the genius of Marathi in one way. हे अक्षर ज्ञान जे आहे, वी आर व्हेरी फॉर्च्युनेट. आता श्रीधर स्वामींचं पांडव प्रताप 3री मध्ये जेव्हा मी होतो तेव्हा मला मिळालं ते. अँड इन वन नाईट आय फिनिश्ड इट. आय मस्ट हॅव बीन अ प्रॉडिगल रीडर ऑल्सो. आणि ते पुस्तक म्हणजे ऑलमोस्ट मुखोद्गत झालं मला ते, असं बघूनच असं. आणि ते पाहिल्यावर इतकी महाप्राज्ञ लोक आहेत ते, आणि अशा महाविशारदांनी निर्माण केलेली कृती, त्याच्यामध्ये पांडित्य, लालित्य, चापल्य आणि मधासारखी रसाळ वाणी त्यांची. See, I'm also fond of the spoken word, the heard book, you know.
Yeah.
श्रुती पण आहेत आणि गुप्त श्रुती पण आहेत. आता विश्वात्मके देवे येणे वाग्यज्ञे तोषावे, तोषोनी मज द्यावे तसाय दान. जे खळांची व्यंकटी सांड, भया सत्कर्मी रती वाढो, भूता परस्परे जडो मैत्र जीवाचे. नो एफर्ट इज रिक्वायर्ड, नो. माऊलीने असं लिहिलं आहे की एका पारायणामध्ये ते डोक्यामध्ये फिट बसून जातं आपल्या. And you are always in gratitude, you know. And I'm sorry, I'm sounding, I'm not making sense. It is a supreme artata, you know,
yeah,
towards
Right.
these masters. आणि इतके कमोदिनी काय जाणे परिमळ, भ्रमर सकळ भोगीत असे. It is these bees that know the fragrance of that divine lotus. तुकाराम महाराज म्हणतात, तेच कमोदिनी काय जाणे परिमळ, भ्रमर सकळ भोगीत असे. Now that भ्रमर जो word है, you can see in your mind's eye the bee that is going around the beautiful world lotus, which has filled this. Then Viva Shirivati also is there. Kama nishecha sarala, अरुण कमल प्राचीवर फुलले, परिमळ या जगती भरला. तमनिशेचा सरला, फ्रॉम मत्स्यगंधा. Now, अरुण कमल प्राचीवर. See, those who I've had the good fortune of getting घसावड and पिटावड, you know, with these sounds, दिव्य vowels, you know. आणि त्याच्यामुळे जे डोक्यात माझ्या मेंदूत जे परिवर्तन झालं असेल, which makes for good memory, recall, visualization, identics, whatever. And then if you want to express it in music, you can do it. If you want to express it visually, you can do it. You want to do it with chalachitra, you can do it. You want to do analysis and systems analysis on it, or use calculus, and then you are also bhakts of masters like Carl Friedrich Gauss, the prince of mathematicians, kiva Newton mana, Euler mana.
You see this because you are also mentioning once to me, and I think today morning when we talked, you said jnana bandha, means there is a knowledge also can be a bondage.
Yes.
And during that time, I think Vasugupta's reference.
Yeah.
And from that he talked about Samarthananda's and his Das Buddha and all.
Yes.
So what is that actually? I just want.
Yeah, our tradition also warns us against Kranti Darshan and Mithya Darshan also. And this is not to devalue your intelligence. This is a tradition that believes that you are Chaitanya Brahma, you are Aham Brahmasmi, vagare ahe te. But there is also the Kaya, which is, Sharira Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadharam. So, त्याचे गुणप्रवृत्ती, त्याचे दोष किंवा त्याचा प्रारब्ध किंवा त्याचे जेनेटिक्स म्हणा, त्याचे लिमिटेशन्स म्हणा, दे ऑल्सो कम इन टू प्ले. So you have a scientific outlook also, but there are also transformative techniques available. And this is the reason I value this tradition, because these people tell you केल्याने होत आहे रे. पण ते आधी केले पाहिजे. So in semantic terms, this can be a cart before the horse situation. How do you know what to do? And then this tradition will tell you that when the Shishya is right,
Guru will come.
Guru will come. Also, they will say कि ये विद्या को गुप्त रखो, इसका बहुत गलत तरीके से प्रसार मत करो. Now, all these things are not normative labels which should bind us. And I think what Vasugupta means when he says Jnanam Bandham is that wrong attitudes or wrong thoughts can be as much of impediments, towards progress. And dare I say this, since this is the 75th birth year of this great republic, look at the path charted by India post-COVID. Look at the economic indicators and look around the neighborhood. Look, I don't have to take names. Do you see the kind of... And why is this so? It is my humble submission. It is because of cultural values and civilizational virtues. And in that sense, my quest has also been to look at our tradition with practical nuggets that we can mine from it. Like from Leela Charitra, for instance, the great master is asked, what are those virtues that a human being must cultivate to be fit for all stations and all abilities and all gifts? Then the Swami says, Himsa Vikalpa Varje To Jivu Sada Sarvadhikari. But what is Vikalpa? What is Himsa? What is Ahimsa? For that, you need a master to explain also. Because the wrong sort of quote-unquote non-violence is also not advisable. In the same tradition, Arjuna says, Siddhanti Mamagatrani Mukham Parishusate. Then the Lord says, stand up.
Tasmat Uttishta.
And talking about Uttishta, who else but the modern sage, Swami Vivekananda? Arise, awake. Whatever, whether you're walking on the razor's edge or whatever it is, this is the message that I was fortunate to get from everybody around me, is that be respectful, be free, work hard, and another good quality, sada, manaprasada saumyatvam, maunam atma vinigraha, bhava samshuddhi ite tat tapo manasa uchate, from Gita. Manaprasada, So there is a, cheerfulness of action. You're not cranky, even when you're in a one-room chawl, and you're helping. This is the dynamism that I'm seeing as a senior science editor with decades of experience. Today's received wisdom is, it is not the survival of just the fittest, but also the survival of the kindest, which is helping. मग ज्ञानेश्वर महाराज जे म्हणतात जे का रंजले गांजले त्यासी म्हणे जो आपुले तोची साधू ओळखावा देव तेथेची जाण. And I had my great good fortune. We had people to guide us on this all around us.
That's why they say it is a culture which absorbs the shocks, not civilization. I think that is what you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's external developments. It is actually the internal development which actually takes the shocks, right?
Yes.
And in that process, he also mentioned a very interesting episode of an exhibition which was curated by you, and you had a stolen page in that from the Rani of Jhansi's book. I mean, what was that actually?
Yeah, actually. There is a little bit of a background to this. My love of yoga led me to a lot of research and quest for texts and techniques and masters and all. And I must say that working with a global gorilla of a newspaper had its advantages. Doors open, people trusted you.
That is Times of India.
Yes, the Bennett Coleman Company, Times of India Group, working, and I also had the blessings of having come from SBI and having topped the university in law and all that.
Correct.
So, जे बुद्धीची जी प्राधान्य जी साधना आहेत, they were easily available to us given our brand value and equity. But you had to do a lot of work yourself. तर ह्याच्यामध्ये when I had been in the Hattak Pradipika, for example, there's a very electrifying introductory verse which celebrates the masters that have caused this great Vidya to come the way it has come to us. So I'm tempted to cite the original if I may.
Yeah.
Adinatha Matsendra Shabrananda Bhairavaha Chaurangi Meena Goraksha Vidupaksha Vileshayaha Manthano Bhairavo Yogi Siddha Buddhascha Kantadi Korantaka Surananda Siddha Padascha Charpati Kaneri Pujya Padascha Nityanatho Niranjanaha Kapali Bindunathascha Kapachandishwarav. And last line, medieval. Alama Prabhudevascha Ghoda Choli Chitintini Hanuki Naradevascha Chandakapalikas. Magji line is Ityadayo Mahasiddha Hata Yoga Prabhavataha Khandayitvam Kaladandam Brahmande Vicharantite. अभी है वो मौजूद है, तो साधक को क्या चाहिए? और जब आप कर रहे हैं तो आई एम सेइंग मास्टर लुक काइंडली अपॉन मी, आई एम ए चाइल्ड, आप दयालु हैं, आप कृपालु हैं. तो आई वाज सर्चिंग फॉर मास्टर्स सच एज गोरक्ष संहिता, सिद्ध सिद्धांत पद्धति, अमनस्क योग, मत्स्येंद्र संहिता वगैरह. ये करता करता in a text I found a folio iti Matsyendrasana, and Matsyendrasana very oddly done, very vibrantly beautiful, and there was a chaupai written in Khadi Boli. I said, ye kya cheez hai? So they said, this is from a folio of a text on yoga stolen or taken from the sack of Jhansi. 1857 चं जे महायुद्ध झालं, वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडन्स मध्ये, तिथे झांसीची लायब्ररी लुटली गेली. पण तिथे दाद द्यायला पाहिजे. देयर वॉज ए सर्जन का डॉक्टर एक होता, त्यांनी हे एक पुस्तक आपल्या कोर्टात ठेवलं आणि मग ते राजाला दिलं. राजाने ते इंडिया ऑफिस लायब्ररीला दिलं. So this information I got because of my and then I said I have to go and see this book, and then I managed to get to UK, and I had the great privilege of seeing Rani Lakshmi Mai of Jhansi's personal yoga text.
Oh.
आणि त्याच्यामध्ये then because I knew Khadi Boli and संस्कृत बॅकग्राऊंड असल्यामुळे योगी चरतराम म्हणून 17व्या शतकातल्या एका योगीचं जोग दीपिका म्हणून एका पुस्तकाची प्रत होती, which was illustrated with manuscript paintings. Now when I saw Matsyendrasana, because Matsyendra is supposed to be the first Adi human pravartak of Yoga Vidya, I found the picture did not match the way we do it. Then I realized they don't want this knowledge to be profaned or to be misused. And it was only when I studied the book very carefully, I got a month, and an armed guard would sit with me when I was studying it. So behind the folio, I saw the way it is correctly done. It is done in a Kailas Gufa. And Shiva, Parvati, and निळ्या बॉडीचे मत्स्येंद्र, ते मत्स्येंद्र पीठम जठर प्रदीप्तम प्रचंड रुग्मंडल खंडनास्थम अभ्यासयत kundalini prabodham. And this kundalini prapat, not everybody can handle, I'm told. And one of the side effects is this Medhavi Vidya, that effortlessly you are able to, you don't know how it is done, but सब आकलन हो जाता है आपको.
So that was some art exhibition afterwards.
No, so then I wanted copies of it, and I thought there was some attempt, etc. But the library used to see how sincerely I was. I used to take off my shoes. Tie काढून ठेवायचो मी. And I treated it like, you know. So she said, have you got a bob? म्हणजे तुझ्याकडे एक पाऊंड वगैरे आहे का? मला वाटलं टिप द्यायला मी विसरलो. कारण एक महिना I was with that manuscript in India office. And Jeremy Losky was the keeper of his kindness. He allowed me to, study the book. She said, she sent me the entire manuscript on celluloid microfiche मध्ये पाठवली.
Oh.
It arrived 4 days later, diplomatic bag, it was at my house.
Great. From
that, I made plates. I went to meet the then chairperson of SEBI. I said, why don't we publicize this? And then I had the idea, and Prime Minister's World Yoga Day, we did an exposition of Rani Jhansi's visualizations of various asanas. And I gave them yoga for the 21st century. How you can use these 8 Maha asanas in a program that is barely 20 minutes to revitalize your mind and body, which allows you not only to get on top of COVID, but allows you to better it and thrive and flourish in it. This is my personal experience. I'm not an evangelist that way. But if it had not worked, I would not be speaking such, words.
Very true. Very true. Well, apart from this, you have already been deep into yoga tradition,
yes.
Practicing yoga also, right?
Yes.
And you have learned, I think, both Hatha Yoga as well as the Raj Yoga.
Yes.
All parts. And
I was fortunate because my father was a disciple of Swami Kuvalyananda,
okay,
who established Kaivala Dharma. So I seen Nauli, Kriya, this. My father was also influenced by K.V. Iyer. He was a great physical culturalist of the 1930s, I think. So Kaya Sadhana or Kaya Sampada and Kaya Kalpa were ideas that I was very familiar with. Freehand yoga, freehand exercises. And also I must mention, I had a problem with childhood allergy and asthma. And my Shraddha Sthan in that was Lokmanya Tilak, who cured himself by exercise and swimming and chopati work. And he made himself into a very robust young man. So following Tilakji and getting blessings from my father, I took the first baby steps in yoga as an autodidact. I taught myself. And to be very honest, there are certain secrets in yoga. Datta Prabhu, for instance, will tell you only one asana if you do, and that is Mayurasana. It will take care of all doshas. My experience is it took care of all doshas. It gave you all balas. It gave you all, powers. But I had to practice this for 8 minutes. Now, how do you practice it? There is a kala in it also, no?
True. Somewhere deeply in, whether it is because of yoga or because of spirituality, I do not know, but I always find, and you have also been exemplifying that, there is a connect between science and spirituality. They both are actually, or I can say art and science. On one side there is art, just now you mentioned kala. So yoga is both science as well as art also.
Yes.
And that is, I think, true for everything in India.
Well, yes. You have brought up a very, very important point. I'm thanking you for it. One of the problems we had was of the great divide between science and art, or which Sir C.P. Snow famously called it, the two worlds hypothesis. His famous thesis was that they are in conflict. Whereas I think Eastern morality, Western tradition kind of samanvay talked about two hemispheres of the brain connected by corpus callosum. They are not schizoid activities which are mutually antagonistic. They are harmonious, operating as a whole. So this harmonizing is the technique of the Tao, of Nishkama Karma or Anopaya Siddhi. These are paradoxical statements. How do you have a Siddhi which is Anopaya? How do you have Nishkama Karma? How do you do karma at all? How do you become a Jivan Mukta while being immersed in the world? Now, I'm not getting into the technical, exegesis and analysis of it. But I think there is a cultural answer to this. And it is to see all of human activity as a holistic spectrum. And if you're lucky enough, Sagaya Kala, Sagli Darshana, they come to you. My humble. So if you got that musical gene in you, then you will be able to compose. If you are able to see things, then you will see what's the secret of Matisse or Cezanne or Picasso or whatever, Ravi Verma or Kalidas or what have you.
I think this is something really interesting, and should be the basis of all education actually. That harmony between the left and right side brain, as you say.
Yeah.
Which many of our saints and sages also always talk about. When we say Jnaneshwari is supposed to be the path of knowledge because the very name of the person is Jnaneshwar. But if you look at this whole composition, it is so sweet. It is full of so much of beauty. Every movie is full of beauty.
Yes.
So sense of beauty or pursuit of beauty has never been against the pursuit of reason. I find this very remarkable thing. I think you can throw more light on that.
Yeah, actually, Om Namo Adya, let us take ज्ञानेश्वरीचा पहिला जो श्लोक आहे जो जी ओवी आहे ओम नमो जी आद्या वेद प्रतिपाद्या जय जय स्व संवेद्या आत्मरूपा देवा तूची गणेशु सकल मति प्रकाशु म्हणे निवृत्तिदासु अवधारिजोजी. Now, for creativity, I started tinkering with this also. I must confess. Karan original was set beautifully and sung by Srinivas Khale Sahib and Lata Tai. Om Namo Jiyadya Veda Pratipadya Jaya Jaya Swasamvedya Atma Rupa Deva Tuti Ganeshu Sakala Mati Prakashu Ane Nivrutti Dasu Avadhari Joji. So I said, why should it be in an evening rag with a Komal Dashi? Why don't we make it more ullasit? Om Namo Jiyadya Veda Pratipadya Jaya Jaya Swasamvedya Atma. This is in Malcolm's. Deva Tuchi Ganeshu Sakala Mati Prakashu Mane Nivrittidasu Avadhari Joji. It is not sufficient. He Shabda Brahma Ashesha Kiyechi Murti Sureka Kete Varnava Punya Dosha Miravita Se Smrutite Chiyavayava Rekha Angika Bhav. Now, what is Sri Rameshwar doing? He's describing the Lord Ganesha himself as various aspects of creativity and artistic. Smruti techi avayava, rekha angika bhava, jetha lavanyati deva, artha shobha, अष्टादश पुराणे त्रियेची मणिभूषणे पद पद्धती खेवणे प्रमेय रत्नांची. So metaphoric creativity, poetry अंग अंगामध्ये इथे साकार झाले. And it is musical to a core.
And yet full of profound knowledge.
Profound knowledge.
So how this knowledge and beauty both are coming in one? I'm getting.
It is the anugraha, I feel, of I am not trying to mystify it. But these masters are. I want to cite this master, Chakradhar Swami, who is a contemporary almost of Sri Nanoba Mauli's age at the end of the Yadava regime in Maharashtra, in the area around Pratishtana, Paitana, Nevase area, Devgiri and other areas. The composer of this text, Mahendra Bhatt, was a great Prakand Sanskrit Pandit. His guru tells him, "अरे आप तो दिग्विजय करके आए हैं, तो चक्रधर स्वामी के पास जाके आप मिलो." So he's very vain because he's such a learned scholar, no? So he says, "Does he know Sanskrit?" So they say, "I don't know about Sanskrit, but Marathi अनिवार्य बोली थी." So he says, "मराठी बात करते हैं ना, अच्छा ठीक है." He gets employed by the king. And one day, 3 months later, he meets Swamiji by chance. Swamiji is taking the morning sun. He's the embodiment of beauty. जैसे सीता जी द्वापर में थी, कलियुग में चतुर्थ ऐसे गोसावी में he was so beautiful, that अंपे गौर श्री मूर्ति लंबकर्ण विशाल नेत्र दावे भुए वरी कोंती. ऐसा सुंदर पुरुष साक्षात गोरक्ष. And you cannot, if you look at him, you're gone. Even little birds will follow him. Cats and tigers and whatever. His enchantment of Sri Krishna, embodiment, incarnate. So when he sees Master, Mahendra Bhatt loses his, he becomes Sthitimantra. And Master has got lotus and काळे केस त्यांचे सोडलेले आणि सकाळचा सूर्य. And he says, "काय तुला समजलं का संस्कृती छेद झाला तुझा?" He knows what he's planning for him logically. त्यांना defeat करायला. And they have a udhani in Sanskrit for 4 hours. And Mahendra Bhatt cannot defeat Swamiji. He who has defeated all the Prakand Pandits of Bharatvarsha. Then he said, "अरे मी ह्यांच्याशी संस्कृत ह्यांच्यामध्ये मराठीमध्ये का मी बोलतोय?" की त्यांचा हक्क जन्मसिद्ध आहे मराठीवर. संस्कृतमध्ये ह्यांना आपण पाडून मग भट्टे संस्कृत बोलू आदरिले. And there is a sentence. गोसावी अवलीळ प्रकार बोलिती जे याशी श्रुतची ना. Now, this is the quality of our masters, dear sir. It is beyond imagination. It lies in a realm of Vak, and Paramavak or Parashakti or whatever. It is so imbued with divinity that it has the power to open your third eye or whatever. This is my Maji Bhavdi Bhavana. And I'm not saying, I don't want you to become, sort of surrender your intellect and all that. But day and night when you are in the company of such Vangmay, I also cultivated some habits like total immersion. I used to read this and then fall asleep. And this will circulate in my brain, phonemes, images, fragments. And in the morning when I get up, I feel I'm different. And then what happens? Whatever I say, whatever I write, has an ojas that I didn't know it existed. I'm on thin ice when I say this. Please don't think of it as, prashasti or self-aggrandizement. I'm saying this is the essence of, the wonder, wide-eyed wonder at it, खांद्यावरी घोंगडी, इस खांद्यावरी घोंगडी म्हणजे कसे असतील ते? कोठे गुंतलासी योगी आमचे द्वारी, कानी न ये बोल बोल माझे, बोल माझे. So this bhavana, this avishkar, this prachand shakti, सगळं universe कावडी घेणार. Now look at the Poseidon of Mauli. Ata Vishwatmake Deve. It's not male or female. It transcends that. Vishwatmake Deve. Yene Vagyadne Toshave. Tosho Nihazadyave Pasayadya. And the Rujuta, the transcendent humility and the transcendent creativity. Oh, those masters. What is impossible for them? So, when you are at the feet of these masters, वो चरण धूलि लग जाती है थोड़ी बहुत.
You also mentioned that I'm just coming back to the other part of it, that you also mentioned you had meetings with many of the noble lords also.
Yes,
Means
lots.
the modern science also you had option to, or you had privilege to meet.
Yes.
Right from, I think, Watson.
Crick, yeah.
So what was that all, and how you also mentioned something about discussion with them.
Actually, when you don't divide knowledge and you don't compartmentalize, so there is a Qaida Kanun of quantum physics, for example.
Sure.
There is a Qaida Kanun of mathematics and Poincare and Riemann hypothesis. Now, we are also doing live webcasts on YouTube, on Bhagavad Gita. So there, one doesn't want to, cultural handicap, you don't want to cite too much also, or show off too much also. So when I say that, we may or may not understand if I say that, a very learned and a very respected professor from Delhi objected to it. So I said, I was speaking from Gödel's incompleteness theorem.
Wow.
I said, if I tell you what is Gödel's incompleteness theorem, फिर आपको एक separate episode लगेगा कि axioms से आप कोई विधान प्रमाणित कर सकते हैं, लेकिन वही axioms का fundamental truth आप वही axioms से नहीं कर सकते. So he says that your proofs will be incomplete. Now I asked this question to the famous Nobel laureate Roger Penrose.
Yes.
I had the great good fortune of being the science editor, and I was associated as a senior editor with the Science Today imperative of the Times of India, which means you got the opportunity as your job description to meet the best and the brightest around the world, from atoms to zygotes. So you have to have the bandwidth to be able to quickly study a subject, get the essences, become familiar, and then be in the company of these greats, which again elevates you. Because the way they explain is fundamentally delightful for me.
Absolutely.
And whether it is Watson and Crick. Now, when Watson came, he was in his 70s. He had taken a 22-hour flight and come from Japan. Old man. I said, I am not going to go and trouble him immediately. 2-3 days, let him recuperate. I will do something and we'll. So he went and he said, but what are your credentials? So I said, I have worked with science. Oh, Ellis Rubinstein, who was the managing editor. He said, yeah. So, Ellis's wife and my wife are friends. Then he said, will you come with me to Hyderabad? Why? I want your help in selecting rubies for my wife. it takes the ball game is taken to another level, When you go with a Nobel laureate who unraveled the secret structure of DNA, the double helix molecule, and you are helping him choose rubies, and you're staying in a beautiful guest house at the hospitality of Pushpa Bhargava, the founding director of CCMB in Hyderabad. So I'm not being an elite when I say this. I see these are modern Maharshis, and their Vidya requires that respect, that you study it on their terms and excel in their terms.
Absolutely.
And there you don't do bhed, or you don't do guru bhed. You learn with, and of course they also expect you to challenge. They expect you to have independent thinking, like the Nasadiya Sukta people. Who knows where was the beginning, whether it was or not. Now, to say that is not to be a Nastic. It is also to be aware truly of the limitations of this limited body. It's a miracle that in this neural network of finite numbers, we are able to conceive the infinite within us. जे मुंगीने गिरण्यासारखा आहे ब्रह्मांड. That is being done every day by the brain. And writers in England have called it the unsolicited gift. We have. And going within itself is an adventure, but it has its disciplines.
Great. You need a break, something we can break and then again start.
No, we can go on.
Because we are going for quite some time.
Yeah. No, I'm fine. Yeah.
So because it's really remarkable whole thing what we are talking. So I think you mentioned Watson and Crick also. So,
yeah.
Crick
Crick was more formal in his arguments, and he was more guarded also, I guess. Watson was prey to, yeah, he was freewheeling, and then it also led to some problems with some of his words and all that. Then I had the great good fortune of meeting the father of game theory, and Abdul Salam, the Ahmadiyya Pakistani Nobel laureate.
Yeah.
Then many others. Because science today, that was the brief that we had to meet these people. And Stephen Hawking, for example.
Oh, great.
Stephen Hawking, I wrote an essay, and then there was a conference that he had come for at PIFR. And I made Lakshman do a cartoon. And then he wanted to have wine. And we went to Tata's. And then the executive director of the Tatas came. And Ratan Tata himself came. And because Steve Hawking said that I don't have too much money in my pocket. I said, don't worry. Let's just go. If necessary, I'll wash dishes, I said, Oh my God. It was one of the most beautiful experiences, especially to see such an indomitable spirit. A man, broken body in a wheelchair. But what a mind it is.
Cosmic mind.
Yes. I had the great privilege of carrying him actually.
Oh.
And my story is there on the internet. Hawking's Day Out. In the early days of internet, it went viral. More than 80 countries picked it up.
Oh.
It was because it was written with all this. And Deena Vakil, my colleague, resident editor of the Times of India, was also there. And we went to Kamala Nehru Park and, with Dalbar Hill, and we took Hawking there. And the kind of questions he was asking. You see, this is something that I am struck, the questioning mind. And I think I would not demonize it by using words like argumentative Indian. I would say the curious Indian.
Curious India. Yeah. That's the very essence of India.
Yes.
To ask the right questions.
Yeah. And look at that beautiful book by Roberto Colasso, the great Italian lover of India, who expired recently. He has this book called Ka, which is the first syllable, a question from where, what, किधर से आए ये सब, इनको पता है या नहीं पता है. Or Kathopanishad, Kenopanishad, these, yeah, Athaken, yeah, Athaken. आणि ह्याच्यामध्ये अथक राहावं लागतं आपल्याला. You cannot get tired in this journey because of the infinite wonders that await the fearless mind.
Absolutely.
This is my, my experience.
Pedro's also.
Yes, and of course they were all
Emperor of mind.
Emperor. Now, when I asked him about Gödel's theorem, he says, "Why don't you look upon it as an opportunity?" It's not the end of mathematics that he visualized in it, but the beginning of a new quest.
Absolutely.
And this is something, pardon me for bringing another giant of our modern times, Dhirubhai Ambani. When I had a great occasion to sit next to him when a Japanese Nobel laureate was given a princely sum of 1 crore for his son's university Department of Chemical Technology. Then, my wife, my dear departed wife, Dr. Vimla Nadkarni, was associated with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. 2 of us were called among 18 other couples for that ceremony. And Dhirubhai, being Dhirubhai, was kind enough to sit next to me and have dinner. So I said, Dhirubhai, what is your advice for a young girl child who's been treated with a lot of kid gloves and now she's going alone in the US? What guru mantra would you give her? From your nichod of your experience. First, Dhirubhai tried to joke with me. मैं तो matriculate हूँ. आप लोग सब post. तो ऐसे Dhirubhai cut it ना मेरे बच्ची के लिए है. सुनेगा इसे. Says, tell your kid there are no problems, only opportunities. And it says also learn to see the limits of your own opinions and prejudices. And have the guts to surround yourself with people smarter than you. And learn to network and get the best out of people if you want world standard enterprises to stand. And this is the essence of cooperative compassion that modern ethology and anthropology are talking about. Survival of the friendliest. Where in the Yamaniyama, Ahimsa and Mudita and Saumyatvam are cultivated as part of the first preliminary discipline of yoga. Asana is later.
Yeah.
But when you get this funda right, I believe 90% of your problems are, resolved. And then you do, Stiram Sukham Asanam, all that. जो कुछ करना है आपको. लेकिन I think this is what I admire in civilizationally in India is its penetrating psychological insights, enabling insights. Now, it is not the ahimsa of weakness. It is the ahimsa of full enlightenment.
Very true.
Which I see. Now, himsa vikalpa varje to jivu sada sarvadikari. So, if you have a sada sarvadikari, you will also have the bala to protect yourself or to secure yourself. This is my humble,
Absolutely. And you're speaking tree.
Yes.
Now, we want people to know about that because I think all this background now built something which is going to be always there in the minds and hearts of people, and that is your
Yeah.
Your initiative as speaking.
Yeah, actually, the credit for that should be given to the Jain family, first and foremost. Mataji, that is Hinduji, I had the great good fortune of working in her Sanidhya. She, by a great grace, was also influenced, or I think even Diksha unko mili thi from Lakshmanju Maharaj, the great Kashmiri Shaivite master of modern times. And Lakshmanju Maharaj was famous both within India and externally in the West. And she wanted, and Samirji also, and everybody, they wanted not to neglect the spiritual aspect or the questing aspect of Indian culture. And if I may say, with all humility and circumspection at my demand, I think people who are overtly or deeply influenced by, I would say alien, but unfamiliar or unrooted phenomenologies, like, say, hardcore Marxism and all that, may not necessarily see the meaning for doing a samanvay or a dialogue between these two things, So, in one of the great edit meetings, they said, could we do this? So then, Speaking Tree was already a property, in the sense the book had come from Richard Lennon by OUP. So we adopted that. And the idea was a tree as a parakhali apan basto. And the various shakhas, from the branches enriching. So initially we wrote under a lot of alliances. Till we set up a secretariat, built up a bank. And having this background of all the Shad Darshanas and Charvaka Darshana, everything from a childhood, and different languages, Kannada, Konkani, which is my mother tongue. I'm a Chitrapur Saraswat. Marathi, absolutely. Yadav Kalin Marathi, Gujarati, Sindhi, because I married into a Sindhi family later. So all this, and a smattering of Tamil, smattering of Malayalam, Bhojpuri, of course, little bit of Dogri, and So all of that was very, very helpful to reach out to various shakhas and regions. And it originally was started out as a small editorial column proved to be so popular because in a way we were fulfilling an essential need of our reading population. And that need comes from the great insight of Hindu philosophic endeavors. Dharmecha, arthecha, kamecha, mokshecha. So you cannot just run after artha or kama. You must also take care of moksha and dharma. And that was the samanvay that we sought with Speaking Tree. And I dare say that it morphed into a wonderful initiative with extra pages, supplements. And it has been my great pleasure to be associated, however tangentially or nominally with it. But it, what people pay to enjoy, I was paid to enjoy and create in a way, to explore and to present. And there again, you have to have standards of presentation also. It must have consistencies, it must have distance, it must have perspective, it must have novelty. All the good virtues of any product for which to succeed, whether it's an engineering design, whether it's an editorial argument or whatever, each one has its own internal codex of excellence. And if we dare to aspire to that, I'm sure you are able to win. Of course, you will get brickbats also because that is brickbats in the sense there is going to be a adan pradan. But I must say that it has been a very fruitful experience. And I also remember those were the early days when we had hired good news reporters. Because one of the insights that came from Mataji was that we should not concentrate solely on bad news or calamities.
True.
So speaking needs to be seen in the perspective of that kind of holism.
Absolutely. And it worked. It worked, I think,
Yes.
magnanimously,
Yes.
fantastically. It
Yes.
flourished. As you
Yes.
said, it became a great banyan tree.
Yes,
sort of
yes,
thing,
yes,
which
yes.
Many have enjoyed shadow of it.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
enjoying
yes,
it.
yes.
One more aspect I want to touch, as I said, yeah, you're a gold medalist from university. I know from university in law and science background, as you have been talking about, and also there is yoga background. There also comes music. So there's classical music, right?
Yes.
And then there is a poetry. So you are a Shigaru Kavi. You once mentioned that.
Yes.
And there is some episode about classical music concert and Mallikarjun Mansurji and all.
Yeah.
Would you like to narrate something?
Of course, of course. The musical part again is mystical because my great grandfather was an Astan Vithal. He was called Satar Kuttana. Satar bajate the among many. Kuttana is Krishnappa. He was Krishnarao Nirodi. He was in the service of the royalty as a musician. And I'm told that most of us have inherited those musical genes. So, although I didn't learn formally, I had a sense, sort of a perfect pitch or whatever you call it, of what is right, what is not right, whatever, instinctive for. And, Mallikarjun Mansur used to come home in Udupi with my grandfather, Basavaraj Rajguru, or great musicians used to come and stay there, because my mother's side of family were great patrons of art. So what happens is a tansen is being created before a tansen. And then you meet a Pandit like Pandit Jasraj.
Yeah.
So that episode that had, so he said that, I asked him, he had made a beautiful set of cassettes called Atho Prayer on his 60th birthday. And I said, we must get him for Saturday Times. And then we went to a very prestigious hotel. Madhuraji, his wife, was also there, Panditji, myself, and I was interviewing. We were speaking over lunch. And I said, how do you account for creativity? So he says, it comes from up. Then I was dressed like this in jeans. Can't believe it, I had a choti then and all that. And I looked like a complete hippie. And I didn't look as if I knew a fur of, a leaf of any Indian stuff. I looked like a typical Western journalist, and superficial, maybe chatty, fast. So I said, give us an example, no? So he says, I श्याम सुंदर त्रिपुरारी करके उनकी बहुत प्रसिद्ध पुरिया धनाश्रम में एक कॉम्पोजिशन उनका है, बंदिश, श्याम सुंदर त्रिपुरारी. तो I said, Tripurari is Shivji. No, I said, यही खूबी है इसमें. Says, I didn't want to change it because it came the way it did. No, here I made a fatal mistake. I said, Sir ji, हम लोग हैं ना करके. I said it अनावधान ने भी बोल दो ऐसा, because you would have fixed it, because we are wordsmiths or शीघ्र कवि or whatever you call it. तो he said, अच्छा कैसे करोगे बेटा? Then I said, now I am being tested. तर अरे आले आपल्यावर आता हे बला. तर I said, ऐसे नहीं होगा सर जी. And there I played my role as somebody trained in the stable of the great times of India. I said, you will have to touch me. You have to bless me. नहीं तो मेरी क्या मजाल है आपके सामने मुंह खोलने की. And he said, अच्छा. Then he put both his hands on my head. I said, he did 3 times. Pick up. So I said, first rule, आपने जो राग में किया है उसको मैं हाथ लगाने का दारिश्य नहीं करूँ. Puriya Dhanashri I will not do. Then what will you do? He said. He thought I am already making excuses too. I said I'll do it in Purvi. So he said, अरे ये बिल्ले को पूर्वी और पुरिया धनाश्री भी आता है. He said, I thought you were. I said अभी आपने आशीर्वाद दिया है, आपकी करनी है. I said, so what I'll do? श्याम सुंदर त्रिपुरा. I said, श्याम सुंदर मुरारी वन श्याम सुंदर वनमाली मुरारी. ऐसे तो मुरारी भी आ गया, वनमाली भी आ गया और श्याम सुंदर भी आ गया. तो कर्पूर गौर नहीं आ गए उधर. तो अच्छा, तो मम पध पम प गम रे गम रे सा. So he was quite taken aback because I had done what was called as छांदोक्त पंक्ति. दूसरे लाइन का क्या करोगे? तो ऐसे आशीर्वाद है ना, तो देवकी नंदन. अभी अंतरे का क्या करोगे? ऐसे your आशीर्वाद was good only for 2 lines. अभी माता जी has to give आशीर्वाद. Madhura ji started laughing because she knew I was having fun, but innocent fun. I'm a bhagat of Pandit ji. Yeah, I mean,
All of us are.
अरे क्या कहने संगीत मारदंड है यार, बिल्कुल. So she came and blessed me. गोवर्धन कर कटी पीतांबर अधर मधुर मधुरा धर मुनि जन मनहर श्याम सुंदर वनमाल. तो ऐसे करके. Now Pandit ji is such a diplomat. He says, बेटा ये बंदिश मेरी. I said, if you sing it, sir, ये मेरा सौभाग्य होगा. कहने का तात्पर्य है सर कि ये विद्या भी अनोखे आविष्कार में अद्भुत वेश में आती है. कभी कभी इसका पता भी नहीं चलता हमें कैसे हमारे से ये होता है. बट यू आर एबल टू सी इट, यू नो, लाईक असं दृष्ट जे म्हणतो ना आपण असं, आणि जे पाहिजे ते. आणि इंग्लिश मध्ये सुद्धा येत आहे. आता मुलीला जेव्हा लहान माझी अंबिका जी आता स्टॅनफर्डला मोठी सायंटिस्ट होऊन बसली आहे माझी मुलगी अंबिका, तर तिला जेव्हा आम्ही आकृष्ट करत होतो म्युझिकला, तो इंग्लिश मध्ये इन द बिगिनिंग रिमेंबर अंबिका कालिंगडा रागामध्ये भैरव घेण्यापेक्षा कालिंगडा घेऊन, म्हणजे कलिंग देशातून आलेला प्रथम राग जो आहे, इन द बिगिनिंग रिमेंबर अंबिका शी इज व्हेरी फेअर अँड ब्युटिफुल असं म्हणणं. से काइंड पप्पा, से काइंड शी सेज. ये भी तो जो प्रास आणि तो न्यास जो आहे, आय थिंक जसं माडगुळकरांचं गदिमांचं अक्षरामध्ये नाहीये म्हणून कोणीतरी त्यांना घननिळा लढीवाळा झुलवू नको हिंदोळा सुटली वेणी केस मोकळे धूळ उडाली भरले डोळे या साऱ्यांचा उद्या गोकुळी
होईल
अर्थ निराळा घननीळा. अरे मेरे रोंगटे खड़े हो जाते हैं यार. तो ऐसी इबादत, ऐसे संस्कार जो है ना, 24 घंटे 8 प्रहर, तो मिट्टी का भी सोना हो जाता है. ये मेरी धारणा है.
True, very true. And then your role as Asiatic Society is someone who has.
Yeah,
really...
it has all these are, you know, spoils of office, as they say. I had the great honor to serve the Great Asiatic Society, which was established in 1802 or 4 in Mumbai. And it is a great Jnanavardhini, Jnana Prabodhini also. And it's absolutely fantastic collections. Initially, I spent a lot of time in research and reading things, but I also had the opportunity of give back, and to, of course, we need more support and greater visibility, more resources. I dare say, because these are things that we must nationally and locally and globally conserve, संवर्धन केलं पाहिजे अशा संस्थांचं, अशा वारशाचं,
Finally, something which I also have a lot of affinity, your association with Sri Ramakrishna
Yes.
and Sri Aurobindo. Can you just
Of course,
tell
of
something
course,
about
of
that?
course, of course. Sri Aurobindo is. I had the good fortune of being inspired by the master's visage from the moment I was born, because there were only 2 portraits on the walls of our flat in Grand Court. One was Raman Maharshi and another was Sri Aurobindo. त्यांचा कृपा कटाक्ष ना सदैव माझ्यावर होता असं मला वाटायचं. And I double blessing is my family, elders in my family had gone, they were active and deep devotees of the master, and they had gone to Pondicherry and met him personally. And they were great devotees. My grandfather was a great devotee of life divine. We used to have discussion satras in our house, where there were readings of the masters, and the mothers, pravachans, udbodhans. And as a little child, I used to be invited and given a place of honor. Bus, like my brain was being rewired.
Absolutely.
And the master, and त्यांचं जे ते सिंबल आहे परमहंस आणि ते कमळ, उमललेलं कमळ, त्या ट्रॅकर्स मध्ये जे, see, then my uncle, when I was 9 years old, gave me a prat of Rajwade Krut, शासकीय कृत प्रसारण केलेली ज्ञानेश्वर. I said, this is too much. He said, no. You have been sitting in the pravachans of the master. He will guide you.
Acha.
And I dare say I have not disappointed my elders. And then, because all these texts were discussed, this philosophy was, explained very beautifully. रसाळ वाणीने. आणि माझे आजोबा, माझ्या वडिलांचे मामा, हे सगळे, they were ardent devotees of both Sri Aurobindo and Sri Ramana Maharshi. And then we had our own family tradition. Parijnanashram Swami, त्यांच्या पूर्वी आनंदाश्रम स्वामी, चित्रापूर सारस्वतांचा जो मठ आहे. तर आणि मग अक्कलकोट स्वामींची पण आमच्या घराण्यावर कृपा आहे. आणि ज्याच्यामुळे दत्त संप्रदायाजवळ, नाथ संप्रदायाबद्दल माझा जो प्रासंगिक म्हणण्यापेक्षा शारीरिक ओढ ही. I'm a little hesitant also to talk publicly, because these are matters of deep inner privacy also. Felt things. But they have never harmed. They have never constrained. They have enabled to take on the whole world, I've worked with some of the biggest papers against biggest competitions. And सब जगह हमारी पत राखी है. द्रौपदीची जशी पत राखली तशी, because sometimes I see this child educated in a Marathi medium school fighting against international competition in the, Barracuda world of international journalism. I was able to survive, I think, because of all these Mahad Ashirwads, which have helped me. I'm sorry, if I can give techniques also, which I cultivated, like bodily discipline, mental discipline. Then I also do what, every day, taking inspirational poems. I try to learn a new way of looking every day and challenge your curiosity, your prejudices, learn new things. I think, and then also take good care of, mitahara. Follow the yogic principles. They are created for the whole universal way of life. And that, I think, is India's greatest gift to humanity. Whether it is the yogic way of life. I'm not getting into this yoga versus yoga kind of, parenthesis and debate. I'm saying that it works. What works? And I think this culture has had a long enough history to experiment with all ways of being. And survival of the friendliest and the most transcendental. And we are lucky enough to be heirs of that.
Absolutely. I think this has been a remarkable conversation, and I think somewhat real, not just a.
Yes,
I feel.
There is much to explore.
Much more, in fact, we can go on exploring further.
Yes.
And I know there are many other things also we can talk, but possibly for the time being, we can take a.
Of course, I have to give you a glass of water. I have to look after. I have to fulfill my dharma also.
No, that's not the case. I think people listening also will get, they have quite been seen to a lot of subjects. So now probably we can.
Of course, there is one small thing. I've of course created books. There's a book on Narmada. I collaborated with Hari Maidar. We did a coffee table tribute to the river Narmada, which was a great adventure. One of the copies we presented to the Honorable Prime Minister. The second edition was launched by the Honorable Home Minister at Wari Ghat. Then I did a book called Deconstructing the Kumbh, with great creative help from Maharashtra government, Madam Saunik, especially Praveen Vedamji. They were very, very, and UNICEF also supported. Now I'm working on the institution called Icons of Peace. How India has harmonized relationship between potentially contentious sects called Panchayatan. 5 जे मुख्य देवता मध्ये इष्ट ठेवून 4 कोपऱ्यांना 4 देवता ठेवून त्यांचं आर्ट, त्यांची फिलॉसॉफी, त्यांचं, that is my current passion. And it is something.
It's again a way of synthesis and harmony.
Yes. I think so. Yes.
Ideas and fields.
Yes. Ekam sat vitra बहुधा वदन्ति. ह्याचं हे जिवंत उदाहरण म्हणजे is Panchayatan. Yeah. And here again, it's a story full of faith and remarkable synchronicities, including masters like Abhinav Gupta, Acharya Shankara, Gorakshanath. Dare I say, the Nehru family's Panchayatan I was able to get. I got Bajirao Peshwa's Panchayatan also to see. So it's been an absolutely fabulous, magical journey. And maybe we can explore it at another, because it is work in progress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is still room for talking a lot, and
yes.
Some future.
But
time.
May I say, it has been such a pleasure talking to you, and I hope, and I say this without any irony, I hope I have not disappointed you.
Absolutely not. It has been a pleasure and great satisfaction. And I knew that it's going to be like this, because when we talk, always I have seen some sort of synchronicity in what we are thinking and talking.
Yes.
So that's the reason I was keen that let it be a free-flowing conversation.
Yes, yes.
Because it allows us to go in so many dimensions.
Yes, yes.
And this multifacetedness, multidimensional nature as a personality. Initially, you mentioned Ashtavadhani.
Yes.
Being Ashtavadhani. Multiple intelligence, they call it in modern psychology.
Yes, yes.
That
yes.
let there be multiple
Howard
intelligence.
Gardner has
Howard
spoken
Gardner has
about it.
spoken.
Yeah.
But then, do you feel this is something which is the very essence of Indian culture?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you say Bahuda, Vitta Bahuda Vadanti, you see it at the Vishnu Dharmottara Purana also, where Braja asks Markandeya Mahamuni, what is essentially Nirguna is that Saguna Sakar kasa karto aapne. So he talks about compassionately about limitations of intelligence also. Jana Nirguna फारच कठीण प्रकार किंवा पदार्थ त्यांच्यासाठी सगुण. तुझं सगुण म्हणू की निर्गुण मी म्हणू, सगुण निर्गुण एक गोविंद आणि निवृत्ती प्रसादे ज्ञानदेव बोले. So by the benediction of the masters, we are able to harmonize, analyze, and we have great traditions. Nagarjuna, you have Buddhism, you have Jainism, you have Bruhaspati, you have Ganada, you name it. And they are not antithetical to Pascal or Newton or Gauss or Gautier or, Linnaeus or whatever, So we are truly, and the Indian diaspora, in my humble opinion, reflects this harmonizing, peaceful, essentially peaceful tradition of the Indian diaspora. And the secret of its, harmonizing with the local community.
Okay.
So, therefore, we are able to take, Western songs, Shakespeare also, beloved of us. John Webster, Duchess of Malfi, White Devil, आणि काय क्रिस्टोफर मार्लो म्हणा किंवा एलिझाबेथन ड्रामा म्हणा किंवा आपले कोलटकर साहेब आणि गडकरी आणि we are, oh my God, embarrassment of riches, I would say.
That's a very good phrase.
Yeah.
It's a problem of plenty, not problem of scarcity.
Absolutely.
So much plenty that we don't have time for
and we are Ramta Yogi, you are always Magan. देत आशीष सबन को आप रहे निर्मोही. So I feel blessed because our culture is also the culture which realizes the importance of death as the ultimate mystery. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam shesham stavaram nityam kim ascharyam atat param. Say Yudhishthira to Yamadharma. What can be a greater wonder that we are able to lose sight of this daily enemy of the wise, the daily more of people who take so many people to Yamalaya. Yet we fondly believe that we are not going to go. And I dare say this is a culture that has the insight and the smarts to come up with this. And it is also not celebrating Eros or Thanatos alone. Both of them are required. For imagine living without end also is, and their myths are full. If you don't have youthfulness or creativity, just living for living's sake is not a life desirable. So I'm also thrilled. I'm very grateful you gave me this opportunity, and I look forward to more such interactions.
Absolutely. Yeah. I personally look forward to such interactions, and we'll take it forward in some more meaningful ways and do something, I believe, in coming time.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time and your this insightful
I'm
and sharing all these things.
It's a blessing for me.
Wonderful.